Well, hey, fellas, John and Mike, good to see you here on the show.
Great to be here. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, likewise, Paul.
So we are doing one of the last Machine Shop MBA series, and I am coming at you from a work booth at the Seattle airport. So it looks like I'm in an insane institution, which might be the case. But we got Jon Franko with the Manufacturing Employer podcast, kind of co-hosting with us today. Good to have you here, Jon.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Mike Tamasi, CEO, founder, president, not founder, sorry, I know family business of AccuRounds, just south of Boston. Michael, good to have you here.
Great to be here, Paul. Good to see you, John.
Yeah, so we got to know each other a little bit when you were on episode 42 of the Machine Shop Mastery podcast, and that was a very inspiring episode. And so as we're planning, to talk about recruiting and retaining and all the important parts about having employees in a machine shop, and the fact that you were a former Top Shops winner in this category, you were just the natural person to call up. And so here we are. And Mike Payne is now back, having dealt with your bank emergency. And Mike, you're muted.
Sorry, I had a slight delay there dealing with the bank.
Is your money safe? You're all good?
Well, do you guys want a quick little side note? Because that was interesting.
I would love to hear it.
We sure do.
Okay, so just as we were getting ready to record, my office manager walks in and says, "Hey, the bank called. They need approval on this ACH, and they won't wait." So that's why I said, "Guys, give me 30 seconds." And they said, "Hey, is this?" There's $260,000 worth of ACHs that are not on our approved list. And I said, "No, I've never heard of those people or those amounts. And no, we didn't initiate this." And they asked me to verify all this stuff. And then then they wanted my mobile number to verify my phone number. And I didn't at first. That's what kind of took me so long. And then I said, "Okay, well, yeah, I mean, you can find my number online, so no big deal." So I told him that. He says, "Okay, we're sending you a link." So when I came back in and told you guys, give me a few more minutes, there's a link, and I get back on the phone. He said, "Okay, go ahead and press that link and we'll reactivate your account." And I said, "I'll tell you what, let me just call you back. Like, what's your number and the case number on this?"
Smart man.
And the phone went dead.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Dude, you almost got scammed.
One click away.
There wasn't a scam that they were calling me about. The call was the scam.
Oh, man.
It's everywhere now, and they're getting really good. That's what's so scary.
Oh, and he knew that. So the caller ID was my bank. He was good. I was skeptical when I first got on the call, and then he made me comfortable enough. And then he sent that link, and I'm like, okay, I'm not clicking on anything.
Smart.
So that's probably a good little 5-minute lesson to start this show. Don't trust everybody that calls you from the bank.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oof. Man, that was close. All right. So, yeah, we are here talking about recruiting and retaining employees. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about AccuRounds, maybe just some background and context, and then we'll get into the best practices that got you that top shop spot.
Sure. Again, thanks for having me, everyone. Good to be with you. We are located in Avon, Massachusetts. Company name is AccuRounds. We do contract precision machining, advanced manufacturing, shafts, pins, and valves for a variety of industries: medical, aerospace, semiconductor, oil and gas, robotics, and more, industry benign, all high-functioning mechanical components. We are in our 49th year. My father founded the company in 1976. I'm a second-generation family business owner along with my sister, and we love doing what we do. We have a fantastic team of 65 team members.
Super cool.
That's awesome.
Hey, Metalworking Nation, Paul here. One of the in-person events that I am most looking forward to this fall is the EBITDA Growth Systems Double Your Value event in Mebane, North Carolina. It is November 11th and 12th, 13th and 14th. There's actually 2 sessions. There's a foundations the first 2 days and a master class the second 2 days. I'm unfortunately going to be tied up at Top Shops the first 2 days, but I will be at the master's class doing a live podcast there with the crew. But this is an amazing event. I've been to it the last 2 years running. Those have been in Golden, Colorado, where EGS is founded. But they're really going big this year in Mebane at the Sandvik Coromant facility there. It's going to be an incredible networking event, great learning, great peer mentorship. I encourage you to come check it out. If you want to come, there is a coupon code just for Making Ships listeners. The code is DYV25MC. So DYV for double your value, 25MC. Go to EBITDAgrowthsystems.com, click on the top menu bar for the Double Your Value event, and I hope to see you there. And tell us about your Top Shops journey, why you focus so much in this particular area, when you were recognized, and just a little bit about that.
Yeah, back in 2020, what year was it? That's a good question. I don't even know. It was 3 or 4 years ago. We applied and got on in one of the 4 companies that were picked. I think they annually pick 4 companies a year, and you don't go for a specific. There's 4 different recognitions, human resources being one of them. And I guess based on your application, your metrics, and your numbers, they choose the best fit for the company. So you kind of need to qualify in all 4, and then they give you the specialty. And I felt pretty honored, and as did our team, to be recognized for the human resource focus that we have, because we're very intent on what we do for our team members. It starts with, recruitment, right? And then retention. But on the recruitment piece, what are we doing for people from the outside looking in, to come to work here? And we've been working in our community for, I've been involved for almost the entirety of my career, my 40-year full-time career here at AccuRounds. I started serving on an advisory board for a Voc Tech school. And currently we have graduates from that program serving as the chairs of those advisory boards. So, our involvement goes well beyond me now. We have dozens of team members that contribute. So what does that do? Well, it does one of 2 things. It either helps promote our industry and promote our company, but more first and foremost is promoting our industry, right? Everything we do in the community is kind of twofold. First, promoting our industry. Secondly, looking at any workforce development initiatives that we can help support, whether it's speaking in a school, doing a job fair, sponsoring a robotics program. Manufacturing Day is Friday. For us, every day is Manufacturing Day. It's not just Friday. We got a couple schools coming in, but we constantly give tours all year long to students, adults, parents, educators. We do teacher externships. We had 150 fourth graders go through our plan a few years ago, which at first was a little bit scary to me. What, fourth graders? But I'll tell you what, it was really, really cool to see these young kids, eyes wide open, looking at these big machines. One of the coolest things they found is when they stepped on the bar at the sink, how the water came out up top, but they have a mental picture now of advanced manufacturing at a very impressionable age. And we got every single person or child that visited sent notes, colored, want to be an engineer, want to work at AccuRounds, or want to, STEM. So, we're very intent on the front end retention piece. Recruitment piece, and then it moves into the retention piece, which we could talk about. But it's creating that image, and we have an internal person that does our social media. We try to make sure that we're promoting the things that we do. It's for business, but really, first and foremost, it's for recruiting. It really is. Sure. It's to create that proper image and hopefully raise the level of what people think. Some people think, I should say, break that paradigm. We're not the 3Ds. We're not dark, dirty, and dangerous. And you may have heard this in the podcast earlier. We're the 3 S's, safe, smart, and sustainable. And stable. And I'll throw the 5th S that Jason Ray came up with on a podcast I did with him. It's sexy. There's so many cool things going on in our industry right now from a tech standpoint that it's really cool.
I think just building on that, I had the news on last night while I was working around my place, but college enrollment, I think, is at a 4% growth rate right now. Trade schools are at 12%. So nice. The kind of the news report was for companies to continue to win the game here. We have to continue to get people involved, or kids involved at a young age, or just educated on the job. So I love, like, really cool what you're doing with, like, constantly doing the field trips and whatever. I remember as a kid going on those field trips, and it was all interesting. I thought, like, no matter where you got to go, it was a day out of school. But I think if they're following up with handwritten notes and different things, like, I think it must be really kind of resonating with them. And the statistics show that that's the direction we're going.
Yeah,
so,
we have, it's ironic you mentioned that, because we interact with 8 vocational technical schools in Southeastern Mass. And
Wow.
we always have co-ops. That's our biggest feeder for talent. But in Massachusetts, there's a lack of capacity. The demand is far outstripping the current capacity, because what's happened in some of these schools, a lot of parents are sending them to voc tech schools to get a specialty to help propel them into a college education.
Right.
And that's not the real purpose of those schools. You know what? They're going to kids that are going to college, but I tell every tour that I get in front of, I say the biggest misnomer our country has sent to our youth is that if you don't go to college, you're a failure. That could be further from the truth. The caveat to that, though, is learning is lifelong. Come to a company like AccuRounds. They'll help you pay for your education. We'll do that as many other companies do. Get a certificate, get a credential. You never stop learning. But, John, your stats are interesting, because I think we're seeing that dynamic locally as well as nationally.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the tech schools are having a hard time keeping up. I mean, I know locally to me here, I feel like, even the 8 years I've been in the industry, 8 years ago, it seems like the tech schools were begging for students to come into the machining and metalworking classes. And now, some of it that they're making available to like adults and so forth, that they reach out to us and they say, hey, we're having this class. If you want to send anybody. And now, like, if you don't respond pretty quick to that email, you don't get a spot for your people in that class. And 8 years ago, they were begging us to put people in that class.
Yeah, they light up our voc tech schools in the afternoon and evenings for exactly that, Mike. Our career and technical education, there's funding in our state that helps support those programs, and they fill up. And a lot of it's job-driven training. We could be contributors to a consortium of educators and government officials that provide the funding and then direct the funding to the right training facility that'll support businesses in that area.
Yeah, one of the I just recently had so one of my facilities is in an industrial park about 30 minutes east of Tulsa, and was just talking with the director of the industrial park probably, I don't know, last month or so. And they have tremendous training facilities. I mean, they have a machine shop probably nicer than any machine shop I've been in. They're part of the problem too, though, is finding instructors.
Big problem
that they're running into. Yeah, just people to teach the class. There's plenty of people that want to attend the class. They don't have enough instructors.
And we need some pathways to get all these retired shop owners into those positions.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of them would love to stay involved and love to connect with young people and share their knowledge.
Yeah, 100%.
Just, Mike, the fact that you're connected with 8 different schools, that's remarkable. You've really invested energy into this pathway to get employees.
Yeah, we not only do we provide tours for those students, but the co-op opportunities, whether it's an engineering co-op, we've expanded into that, but mostly it's the machine tech programs where we have students that run machines, and they come in, and I'll tell you, within a few weeks, they're operating a CNC machine on their own. The quality is very high. And obviously, if they get to graduation and they don't want to go to college and they've worked out, and typically if they've worked their entire co-op, they have a job offer waiting for them.
Not a lot of industries can say that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of, especially after the 4-year college route, you go and you do that, and then, well, the job market's brutal or whatever, and there's just no jobs out there, or nothing waiting for you. I think that's a powerful thing to know, that, like, yeah, I'm going to put the time in, I'm going to spend some money, get trained, but then I'm going to likely have a very good chance at a job when I come out. That's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We do college internships as well. So we try to, we've had as many as 3, and we're a small company, so that's a lot for us, but at least have one every summer. And one of the best ones we had was a couple of years ago when we bought our first cobot. We didn't know, nobody internally knew anything about a cobot. She walked in the door. We showed her the cobot. Didn't even know what the name was. Don't know what it did. You're going to learn it. You're going to implement it. 2 months later, She bought a conveyor belt. She connected it electronically. She 3D printed rails. She set this thing up, and it's now named after her. It's Meg, our first cobot.
That's awesome.
That's incredible. Love that.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So besides this tech schools and internships, what other things are you doing to find employees maybe that are, a little more on the senior side of things, come with a few years of experience? I know every shop is having a hard time finding folks.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time we've hired somebody that walked in here with 10 to 20 years of experience. It's been a long time. So, hire for attitude, train for skill. I mean, that's kind of been our motto, and we've done it with our Voc Tech kids that end up, promoting from within and rising through the ranks. I was involved recently. I spearheaded the Uniquely Able Academy, which you may or may not be familiar with. And for your listeners that aren't, it's a program that started in California, the Uniquely Able Project. It's a 14-week CNC training program that takes kids on the spectrum, high-functioning autism adults, puts them through a program and gets them to work. Well, I'll make a long story short from a parent that came to me and introduced me to the program, because the program was started with somebody that went to high school 10 minutes away from here. We bolted it on to a college program at Bridgewater State University. They have an Excel program, Excel vocational education for autistic people that are uniquely able. We bolted this program, took the 14 weeks of training and made it into a college year. So they get the technical training spread throughout the year. They get the soft skill, life skills training. We just hired our second graduate in June. He went on a 12-week OJT program. And just this week, we offered him a full-time position. And
that's incredible.
He's doing fantastic.
Oh,
so there was a book written by David DeLong that was launched a couple months ago that I contributed to called Hidden Talent. And he highlights people that have just been released out of incarceration, right? He highlighted the autistic population and refugees, obviously, right? So refugees, formerly incarcerated, and people, with autism. So you've got to look at it. You got to be creative. You got to be open to different opportunities. You got to look at different talent pools, and you throw the net wide. And again, if they have, we're big on core values, Paul. We talked about this first time together. If they understand gratitude, excellence, team first, initiative, and trust, and the behaviors we've built around that, they're in. We'll teach them the rest.
Yeah, I think it's incredible you brought that up too, and the timing's unique. I had so Titan Gilroy was in my shop yesterday and spoke to my team, and Titan's I think most people are familiar with Titan's story. Learned to machine in prison, and then helped build education programs in prison, and has gone on to do lots of other things. He also has a son with autism, and he talked about both of those things yesterday with my team. And I actually have, I guess, 5 people now that are on that spectrum. And, the finding that hidden talent, right? If you go back up years ago, there wasn't really that opportunity for a lot of people that had these different learning disabilities, or, however you want to define it. And my wife actually works with autism quite a bit. So I've been familiar with it for 30 years. But honestly, for this line of work, I mean, they really, really excel. So, when you can give that training and look for that hidden talent, well, you can change lives and get, fulfill a workforce demand that you have really well.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win. I mean, their skill sets, focus, attention to detail, repetitive tasks, it plays well to certain aspects of our industry. And the first cohort, we're in our third cohort now, the first cohort that graduated in June of 24, I went to the graduation, and I got to tell you, it was one of the most emotional things I've ever experienced. Parents, grandparents coming up to me, crying, thanking me for what we've been able to put together. They're somewhat of a forgotten population.
Yeah.
And I think this is a huge opportunity to bring them back and give them some notoriety, something to live for, and contribute and feel wanted. It's great.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Like going back to your core values, Mike, like that first one of gratitude, you give somebody previously incarcerated, you give them a second chance. And if they really embody that ideal or core value of gratitude, you've got a lifelong employee. I mean, that's a powerful thing. You're like changing someone's life. They're living, if they live up to your core values, which I love that, like, it's very apparent from your site that this is a core value, not just we don't just put them on the break break room
No,
warfare.
no.
And that makes all the difference. I mean, I see it every day in my own company.
Everything we do here revolves around the core values and behaviors. And I like to tell the story. It kind of started with my father with 3. It was teamwork, integrity, quality. He preached that. And we kind of upped those words a little bit. Teamwork to team first, integrity to trust, quality to excellence. And then we won a Northeast Shingo Prize in 2006. So we added initiative. And then, John, you mentioned gratitude. Well, I went to a conference 10, 12 years ago, and this speaker was imploring CEOs to adopt the core value gratitude. And he really gave a great story around why. And I brought it back to our team. We talked about it, and we adopted that as our 5th core value. We have a nice tagline, get it. We didn't start with that and fill in the words.
I love that.
But we use gratitude a lot because, you could go into a difficult conversation. Hey, let's get a little perspective. Take a deep breath. What are we grateful for? Let's start there. Let's take the temperature down and work forward from that standpoint. And it's really important. And I think, we start a lot of our meetings with, what's the good? Give me a bullet. What are we grateful for today? And we'll list them, and we document that. And it's a good reflection and a good way to level set certain conversations.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Jason, hey, thanks for jumping in on this show with us. We're sitting here talking with Mike Tamasi about hiring and retaining and creating a great culture and so forth. And it's been going great. And one of the things that, I think you and I have talked about in the past, and I think everybody understands is, kind of tying together, what we do, but also with the latest and greatest tools really does help in that attraction and retaining of talent. And, on that front, talking about paperless parts, and, if you go all the way to the front of our process, right, the first thing we've got to do with the customer is get a quote out. So let's talk a little bit about how, a tool like paperless parts can help us in this, kind of talent attraction and retainment.
No question about it. So first and foremost, I love Mike Tamasi. He's awesome. Massachusetts staple.
Yeah.
His nephew works at Paperless Parts, so pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's who I work with at Paperless. He's great. He's great.
So I come back to building blocks for talent, acquiring and retaining talent. And I think one of the organizations that is actually pretty darn good at it is the United States Navy. And when I went through officer candidate school, basically said, hey, look, the thing you as an officer owe every one of your sailors is tools, the training, and the opportunity to be successful, right? And I think that that's a winning recipe. And when I think about the tools, I think about having the right technology tools like paperless parts where it's modern, tools like the right machines that are safe to use on the shop floor. I've seen, and I'm sure you have, crazy things when you walk out onto a shop floor where
no,
never. The training, right? Making sure people understand how to take advantage of those tools and how to leverage them to be successful. And then the opportunity really comes from creating an organization that is growing and scaling and is continuing to provide new people with opportunities to grow. Because we see it every day at Paperless Parts. Someone comes to our team, they're on the team for 6 months, and they're like, okay, what's my next job?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when do I get promoted? And I think that that's like younger people move really fast.
Right.
They're learning fast. They're training fast. And they'll move really fast if you get out of their way and let them. So if your organization is stagnant, it's not growing and it's not profitable, that's really challenging. So that's where I look at Paperless Parts as a tool for attracting and retaining talent, because first and foremost, it's creating that opportunity for someone to come in and be successful and grow in their career. Well, now you can step into a business, and paperless usually uncaps that growth. Growth, bottleneck to growth is usually sitting in the front office. If you can't quote it, you won't win it.
Right.
You won't ship it. So at the end of the day, you got to be able to estimate quickly. But what we see, and one of the things that I find a lot of pride in, so I get really excited every time I see on someone's LinkedIn profile that they call out that they are a Paperless Parts user or super user. I'm like, oh,
Sure.
This is super cool. But I've seen that on really young people's LinkedIn profiles.
Okay.
And so when we go back out to those customers and say, well, what are you doing here? They're like, well, what we love about this system is, one, you can't break it. So we can drop a young person in, and it's intuitive because it's designed like the modern software technology that they're used to using, which is what? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. The buttons look the same. The actions are the same. Like that's just the way people expect software to work. And I can drop them in with guardrails in place. So I had a captain in the Navy that always used to say to me, he would say, look, it's so much easier to guide a missile than it is to push a cart. The missile's moving fast, and if it hits something, it's going to explode. So you gotta put the guidance system on it. But man, I'd much rather do that than sit there and try to push someone and try to get them motivated and get them moving. And so young people just need a guidance system and some guardrails. When you drop a young person into paperless parts, you can give them certain access, certain controls. You can set them up with tasks that are going to be fairly intuitive to them, and you can audit what they've done. And that's one of the things that I really love about the system, because it allows a young person to go in, take the process right up until the end, and then a more experienced person to come in and quickly check their work. And I think that creates this training environment that ramps people very quickly. And that's the pace of ramping that a young person expects.
Yeah.
They don't want to spend all day doing one thing.
Yeah. Tamasi is just talking about that in this episode where he calls it freedom with fences, right? So, you and I call it guardrails. He's calling it freedom with fences. And I think that's such a great analogy. And the other thing that we were talking about in the episode is just the servant leadership model, which is exactly what you're talking about, which is to give your people the tools they need to be successful and achieve those company goals, right? I mean, it's all the same thing. So whether they need a better end mill, they need a better work holding, or they need better quoting tools, it's all about giving your people everything they need to be successful and achieve the goals of the company.
And it's such a different environment too. And I'm sure Mike talks about this a lot, because he's very transparent with his team. I've watched him talk about their business and their strategy. I think the days of like, go stand in front of this machine, push this button and go get a paycheck and then go hang out at the bar or go to bowling league or whatever you do after work. I think that's changed a lot. Young people want to know that they're part of something that is going to be successful, and they want to understand the metrics. So it's no longer I can like hide the quoting process because I don't want people knowing the company is making money. No, the organization should make money. Right. The best companies we see use our system as a way to explain to people on the shop floor how the business is going to make money on the parts they're about to produce.
Sure.
It's just like when we're in the Navy, it's shipmate self, right? So if the ship sinks, we're all screwed. Well, that's a company. Right. The company is your ship, right? So if you're going to be successful and everybody's going to have a job and everybody's going to continue to make more money, well, boom, there you go. Everyone needs to understand that. And I think creating that feedback loop, I always go back to Jay Jacobs. I think my co-founder, Jay, who ran Rapid, was one of the best people leaders I've ever seen. I mean, you talk about growing a shop from 0 to 385 people in Nashua, New Hampshire in 15 years. I mean, I talk about skills gap and hiring people. You can find 385 machinists. Where?
Right.
But Jay did the dog of the week, where they would stand up on stage in front of the whole shop and they would talk about the part they lost the most money on.
Oh, okay.
Every week. And that's brilliant.
It is brilliant. I might steal that.
I recommend it to every one of our customers, because it's a forcing function for two things. One, you should know which your least profitable part is. And most people don't.
Right.
So you got to get to that point to be able to do the dog of the week. And then once you know, you got to fix a problem. The only way to fix it is get the team to know what's going on. So yeah,
that's perfect.
It's exciting stuff. But I think young people like cool toys. And they grow up with technology, so they don't want to step into a role in a position where they don't have the right tech to be successful. They're also on social media. So when I look at the people that like our posts, it's all young people. So if your shop doesn't have technology, you can almost guarantee that young hire you just made is aware of something that you don't have.
Yeah, true. Now, I like that you just called me young, because I like your posts. So
I know, it's great.
So it makes me feel young at heart.
It's, what is it? 50 is the new 20? Is that right?
I hope so.
It's all how you live, right?
Yeah. Well, Jason, thanks for jumping in on this and talking a little bit about how we can leverage technology to help, recruit and retain talent. And, because we certainly all need to be doing that every day, and every tool that we can add to help us with that is critically important. So thanks a bunch.
It's always fun, Mike. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mike, what are you doing October 15th through 17th?
I'm going to be in Illinois with you at MTForecast.
We will be, and Nick will be there, and it is always a fantastic event. Nick, of course, will be there with us as well. Roger Atkins from NTMA, Travis Egan from AMT, of course, lots of great speakers. One of the ones I am most always keen to hear is from the ITR economics crew. Michael will be there, and their talks are always just absolutely fascinating. They talked at the MFG meeting.
Yeah, the one in San Antonio, and that was a ton of fun. And of course, I'm a numbers guy, so I love seeing the trends and the kind of where they see everything going. And I think it does give us really great insight into, just where the industry's heading and how maybe as people in the industry, we should be responding to that.
Yeah, because the reality is, economics and the economy is kind of frothy right now. There's a lot going on, and being keyed into the themes, the strategies, the trends that are happening in the next year plus are really important. And I think any business leader, especially in machining right now, because it's so dependent on all sorts of macro trends, really need to be there to hear firsthand what's going on in the business.
So how does someone register for it, Paul?
They go to amtonline.org and just click on the events tab at the top and choose MTForecast.
Well, it's going to be fun. We'll see you there.
See you there, buddy. I think core values are a fantastic tool for making sure you attract people that align with that. But I also believe that's equally as powerful as a retention tool, right? And so that's the other half of this equation. Jon, before we hit record, you pulled up his careers website, at AccuRounds.com. And I just pulled it up as well. It is beautiful and really well thought out. Obviously, you invest a ton of time into this. So let's maybe just share for folks, if they're not on your website right now, talk about the retention piece. What are you doing? How do you make sure you have that great culture that people just want to stay at for years and years?
Sure. You do it for the recruitment and the retention piece, but in order to keep your team members engaged, you want to try to separate yourself and put yourself in a position that you consider an employer of choice and the people that want to come to work for you and stay here. So it starts with the environment. It starts with safety, both physical and emotional. We talk about mental health, the challenges even before COVID, through COVID, what people deal with. And you got to be open to having those conversations. Flexibility, right? What used to go and not be issues. People used to come to work. We worked 7 to 5. And everybody showed up. And everybody put in their 47.5 hours of work, and they went home. That was the way it was 10, 20 years ago. Well, it's not that way anymore. People have lives out of work. So, our director of HR, Diane, talks about the holistic approach to our team members, and we try to, focus on that, right? So you have the environment, you have the culture piece, the core values we talked about. You have to have that around it. You have to have the structure in place. We're big on lean. We do a lot of things around that. We have leader standard work that's embedded throughout our company. I've done it for over 10 years myself. I talk about this continent I got out of a book called Competence, Clarity, Alignment, and Accountability. You got to start with competence. We talked about that mostly in the attitude and teach the skills. But everybody goes right to that accountability piece, right? But unless you have clarity and alignment within the organization, unless you're communicating, having your huddles daily, weekly, one-to-ones, whatever it might be, and make sure people understand what their role is in the organization. When you only have 65 team members, those roles could change hourly, depending on a phone call from a customer. So that clarity and alignment piece is a daily effort. Then and only then, when that's established and you got a kind of rhythm there, can you look to the accountability piece. So having the structure, and then, all the things around it from a corporate social responsibility standpoint. I talk a lot about our journey, lean, and I've got a Shingo tour coming in here in a couple of weeks, and I'll give a presentation. I'll refresh it. And it used to be just our lean journey, but now I've overlaid that with the corporate social responsibility piece. What are you doing in your community, right? We've talked about that. What are you providing for your team members? We have, in order to attract and retain the youth of today, look for things a little differently. Like they look at how you're treating the environment. We have solar on the roof. We have a gym on site. We have the hydroponic farm out back. That's a 40 by 10 by 10 freight container. Vertical farming. We grow lettuce and cucumbers and harvest it and give it to our team. We used to have just a safety team. We have a safety, health, and wellness team. We've been recognized locally and nationally for our efforts around that. So it's taking all, recycling to the degree that we can, not only oils and metals, but, paper and cardboard and whatever we can look at. So, and then having idea boards and engaging our team members and providing them facts and data for them to do their jobs. It used to be, and my dad would admit he was a leader follower guy, right? I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, he was an immigrant from Italy, came in when he was 17, built 2 tremendous businesses. I always told him he did the hard work. And he built this foundation that we were able to take it to the next level, but he did the hard work. So moving from leader follower to a leader model. Everybody in our organization is a leader in their own right, in their area and circles of influence and what their responsibility is for, and getting them to understand that. We have 4 apprentices right now. They're all doing at different levels, either in quality or manufacturing, and they're going through some leadership training. So supervisory skills training. And some may end up having direct reports, some may not, but what it'll give them is more tools in the toolbox to help communicate. We are part of the Talent Pipeline Project. You may or may not be aware of that program. I just was on a PMPA call this morning that introduced that program to that association. It's a free resource for recruitment and retention that the Navy is funding because they're concerned they're not going to have the future workforce to build the submarines that we need to build over the next 20 years to keep our national security in place, especially what's going on in the China Seas. So we're going to bring them in. They're going to take about 20 of our team members and put them through a 4-hour session. So training, we launched the AccuRounds Lifelong Learning University. That acronym is all you. It'll double entendre there, right? But we want our entire team to have one or more learning objectives because that's going to help them grow both personally and professionally. I don't care if they're reading a cookbook. They're going to stimulate their mind. It's going to come back to the organization in some way, shape, or form.
What's so cool about all that, Mike, in my opinion, is I think a lot of times people think, okay, I got to attract employees, or I got to, and they go straight to tactics. And a lot of what you're talking about are tactics, but when you listen to what they are, they all tie back to your core values, which is something like initiative, right? Gratitude, like the fact that you're growing, like they can grow vegetables and take them home, all these things tie back to the core values, which I think that's where, at least from my, talking to different business owners and people in the culture seat, so to speak, of creating a great place to work, that's where they miss it. They just okay, well, we'll pay more for their insurance or whatever. And yes, those things are important, but do they really tie back to what you're all about? And it sounds like yours absolutely do.
For sure.
Yeah, we're intent on that. My job is to provide opportunities for the people that work here. And how do you do that? You do that by investing in them and investing in technology so they can learn and grow. And we've invested a ton on whether it's CNC machines, computerized quality equipment. We just got a new machine in here. It was a little bit of a lull because we were down in 24. We got a new machine. We're about to bring in a cleaning system. We're looking at, CapEx next year, 2 or 3 more pieces of equipment. That's how people stay engaged. Listen, you need to make money to stay in business, right? But I'm not all about making money. I'm about making people's lives better. And if I can do that, that'll pay dividends in the business and we'll be able to reinvest in the company and grow. And our core purpose is to be the defining standard for advanced manufacturing. Now, that's a hell of a lot to live up to for a 65 team member company that's competing across the globe, right? But hey, it's a cool way to say we want to be the best and we want to be a leader. And based on some of the benchmarks and people visiting, we had the University of Tokyo in here last month that toured. That was pretty cool. We got Shingo. We've done multiple Shingo tours. We've had people from Europe visit. We've had people from other countries visit as well, and a lot of local people. So we want to give back. We want to share. I mean, we're a small community. The only way we're going to survive, and our our government wants to bring manufacturing back to this country, right? Well, we need people that want to do it. And believe me, technology is part of it, but it's not going to replace people. It's going to allow us to do more and be more competitive, and we'll grow at a faster rate. We'll still hire people, still need people to run cobots and do automation. But if we can provide our team members with the proper learning opportunities, they're going to grow and they're going to stay. We used to start, and we've had government officials come in and tell the story because they heard it. But when we bring Voc Tech school kids in, we used to start them in the parking lot. Look at the cars that were in the parking lot. Because a lot of them are into cars, right? They see some pretty nice cars. And they say, oh, yeah, you can make a pretty good living here. And if people afford those cars, that's what you want to stimulate. You want to stimulate opportunity. And by providing that, that's the best way to retain team members. It's not for everybody. That's fine. I get it. We try to all get it. But, attracting the people that want to be part of that story and be, and contribute and take people on tours and do things just beyond pushing a button at a CNC machine or writing a program. That's what we want. And that's what we're trying to attract and retain.
Mike, I want to make sure we spend just a second talking about something you just said that I know it's certainly the way I feel. I actually just had this conversation yesterday with my entire team, but I think all shop owners need to hear it again. So you talked about your job is to create opportunity, right? And for your people. And I know that's, a lot of, I've grown pretty rapidly over the years. And, a lot of my personal mission behind that is it's what creates opportunity for my people. Right. And, like I always tell everybody, if you grow yourself to a point where I don't have opportunity for you, that's my failure. Right. Like that's where I have now failed you, and I will now help you, out of the nest, right? To somewhere where there is a better opportunity. And actually, Paul and I did that together with one of my guys.
Yep.
And and it's happened, many times, because sometimes people do grow faster than you. And I just wanted to reiterate that, because I think that's such an important mindset for shop owners to have, or any business owner for that matter. Amen. is just creating opportunity for your people, and then go where they take you with the opportunity that you present them.
Yeah. We've had team members come here and whether they want to go to a different industry or have a different reason, we're more than happy to give them the resources to look for opportunities and make connections with other companies, just like you mentioned. Yeah. But, there's a great book called Small Giants. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I read that years ago and it really resonated with me. We grew 50% through COVID in 3 years. That was explosive growth for us. That's too much, in my opinion.
Sure.
We like control growth. 5 to 20% a year is great, because you can kind of manage that. When you're in this job shop environment, it's real difficult, right? You have people, you have machines, and you have work. And to try to put that mix together, it changes every day. Who's in, what machine's down, what call did you get, what parts are needed, right? So to try to make that mix work, it's challenging. But to me, again, providing that opportunity through investment in personnel, team members, and the technology, and marrying that piece, that's how you grow. We want the revenue to grow, and we've done that over the years. But, I'm not going to grow 30, 40, 50% a year. That to me is unmanageable for the type of work that we do.
Sure.
I love your point about building opportunity for employees. I had another guest, Sam from Parts Life and Duval Life Cycle, and his whole thing was, we build the company to build people. We're not. It's not the people here to serve the business. The business is here to serve those people. And he's helped dozens of people buy their first homes. And he also hires people from incarcerated backgrounds, and just that servant mentality, I think, is such a key part of your success in this area. I just really encourage other people to kind of lean into that. Not only is it a great model, but it just feels really good.
And
people.
Paul, this is why Mike is winning the war on talent.
Right, absolutely.
These things, people talk, people share this. This is the culture that your company is. We are here to help people. And whether that's a future at our company or something beyond that, that goes a far way, goes a long way with people. So I totally agree.
Yesterday morning, one of our engineers walked in and stuck out his hand. I shook his hand. I'm like, He goes, thank you. I go, why? He goes, I just bought my first house. I mean,
Love it.
that's what it's all about.
There you go.
Those are the best
awesome.
days.
One
You
of the
just
best,
gave me
it's the
chills.
coolest.
Yeah, I just got chills saying that. One of the best stories was we had a co-op, Black individual from a high school, had a kid in high school. He's been here for 15 years, and maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago, he came up to me and told me he bought a house. And I was just talking to him. He's I think his youngest is now a sophomore or junior in high school.
That's
I'm
cool.
like, what? You gotta be kidding me. There's 2 kids. I go, houses, these decades are flipping by. But that's, to me, that's just awesome to see the growth. And we've seen that with a lot of individuals here. I've been here full-time here for 40 years. You see a lot, right? But those are the best stories, because that's
cool
really
stuff.
what it's all about.
It's always the best days. I can tell you that. When I think about my best days, it usually revolves around like a story you just told. Somebody just bought their first home. They're starting their family. They're, whatever those life dreams that they're hitting. It just, I don't know, like it's so warm and just makes you like, you're doing the right thing.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah. And the fact that you have people from Japan coming and touring your company, and all this recognition that you're getting is just evidence that this is clearly working, and it's building that reputation that is not only allowing you to hire employees but share what you're doing with the world. And hence you're on this podcast now, and you have a Top Shops award for it as well. I would encourage people listening to lean into this model again, because it's effective and it's the right thing to do, and it will help you win as a business and help you then, provide opportunity and build those employees. And it's just good all around. And Mike, also, I just want to also point out, like, clearly this is not just something that you have like hired a great HR person and have offloaded to them. You clearly live this and breathe this every day, the way you speak about it, the way you added different values at different dates in time for these reasons. Like, you clearly are fully in it. And that is also, I think, a crucial thing. You can't abdicate your responsibility for building a great culture, which allows you to have great recruitment and great retention.
Right. It is. And I thank you for acknowledging that. And what I've done outside of the business has been reflected by our team members here. They've given me the ability to co-chair the Advanced Manufacturing Collaborative for the state of Massachusetts with the Secretary of Economic Development. I've done that for 12 years. I was the first chair of the Business Leaders United, which was launched out of DC under the National Skills Coalition, which got me into a meeting with President Obama and Vice President Biden at the time to talk about getting unemployed back to work. I was just at a function last week for a group I chair called Career Spring. Well, I chair the Boston Regional Advisory Board for this national effort for Career Spring, another potential pipeline for talent. Career Spring is focused on first-gen low-income students. Right now it's college, but it's soon to go into high school for kids that aren't going to college, and networking them into careers, because they don't have the pipeline that most of us that grew up in this country have. So that's been a passion of mine. I chaired the Greater Boston Manufacturing Partnership I've been on the board since 2000. I chaired it for 14 years, just got off that chairmanship. So, and there's a few others that I won't mention, but as you can see, whether it's association involvement, as Paul knows, NTMA, PMPA, I've been able to go out, learn, bring things back to the company. I've sent other members of our company out to learn in those environments. So it's all, and people like, well, how do you do it? Why do you do it? Well, first of all, I do it because it's a matter of survival. If I'm not involved in doing things that are going to help our industry and our business, we're not going to be here. But I do it because it's personal growth for me. It's professional development for me. I've benefited, my home life has benefited from it. My work life has benefited from it. My team members have all benefited from it. Our company's benefited from it. And it's been kind of a teaching moment for other people in the organization that it's not just about, punching the time clock. There's more to it than that. And you got to celebrate. You celebrate the wins. And, I've never had more fun doing what I've done in the last few years than I've had my entire career. And I went to my first convention when I was 12 years old. I started sweeping floors when I was 12 years old. So I've been full-time for 40, but I've been in it for 52 years. I'm getting old. I don't feel it, but I've been around for a while.
That's amazing.
Paul, I think it's such a great point you made about he clearly lives it. We talk a lot on our shows about, to grow your company, you have to delegate, right? And this is truly one of those things, though. You can't just delegate, right? You can't just hire that director of HR and say, okay, this is the culture I want you to implement. I mean, you have to live it like Mike's doing for sure.
Yeah. You talk about implementing culture. What is that? Well, it takes time. It takes legacy.
Yes.
John, you mentioned it's a lot, all the little things that end up adding up. You can't say, oh, we're going to take this and we're going to put it into our company. No, it's going to be natural. It's going to be organic. And it really is the people of the culture. It's not me. Yeah, I drive
100%.
it. I believe it. I might be the leader, but it's the upside down pyramid, right? I'm there to support everybody that's doing the real work, the people on the machines out there every day. I've been able to separate myself from this, some things I do day to day, but I'm not reliant on to be here at a certain point of the day of the week to do them. So it allows me to work on the business, and I've chosen different avenues to do that. And it's so far it's working pretty well. Pretty happy with the people that we have. We've never had a better team, a more engaged team. And that being said, even though we've been doing lean for 30 years, every day I walk through that front door, feels like day one. It's continuous improvement.
Never done.
You're never done.
Continuous improvement.
You're never done.
Mike, I have a question. 10 minutes ago or so, you mentioned some of the things that you guys do. And one of those is something that I want to do. And maybe other listeners have fought with this. I want to have a very flexible schedule environment. And I've approached it 2 or 3 different ways. And I would just say it kind of hasn't worked for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's been too flexible and maybe it gets overinterpreted, right? Just different things. I'm just curious, do you have any real practical success and failure that you've done in implementing a flex schedule type environment in this machining world?
Sure. Well, you have to have people on site to run machines. That's a given.
Can't work from home.
Can't work from home. And obviously through COVID, we were all essential and we never missed a day of work. But, freedom with fences was a term that we've thrown around here a little bit.
Okay.
So when we slowed down in 24, we went back to 40 hours I can't even remember an extended period of time we were ever at 40 hours for my entire career. But what we offered at that time, we offered if people want to do 410s, 5/8. So that kind of started us down that road. We had some flexibility with certain team members, but we have a pretty diverse workforce. Immigrants, females. We have females throughout the organization. A lot of them are young mothers. So we have some females that come in and they need to go home to take their kids to school. If they come in early,
Sure.
We allow them that opportunity. So we've been a bit flexible. Now, to your point, Mike, you got to be careful because if you just leave the doors open and let people come and go as they please, it's not going to work. Because you get the team members that have that rigid schedule that are here every day from whatever 45, 50 hours a week. They're saying, what's going on? We get any work done and how come that person can come and go? So
yeah, they're never here.
No. So my director of HR manages, everything kind of needs to be approved or communicated through coordinators and our leaders. And then my director of HR has a sheet of what everybody's schedules are. So, again, it's got to be approved. It's got to work. Our job is to serve our customers. So that's first and foremost. What's best for AccuRounds and our ability to provide product for our customers. So it starts there. If you being out these hours and times because that machine's going to be down, that might not work. So, how can we get coverage while you're out? Can something run unattended? Can we, team up? Can, this value stream accept that type of schedule? So there might be a couple of people that are involved in the final decision, but we try to accommodate as much as we can. Now, we've had situations where we've gone too far. Just like you said, we've had that's not going to work. We got to take another crack at this. Yeah. How can you get what you need to get done, but work within different parameters? But again, I think it gets down to communication. If you have trust and if you have gratitude, you can kind of work through some of these things and get to what's going to work for both the company and the individuals.
Yeah, I like the freedom with fences. I mean, we talk about it in our environment. It's just guardrails, right? So we'll put up some guardrails down the highway, and if you bump into them every once in a while, it's fine. But if you just keep crashing into that guardrail all the time, eventually your car is going to be immobile, right?
That's right.
So, that's the analogy that I use a lot, and I mean, we've had some success and some failure with trying to offer flexibility. It's something that's really important to me, and I want to get there where, we can accommodate everybody's schedule. But like you said, there is that element that we still have customers to serve, and we still need that machine getting 10 hours a day or, whatever it needs to do every day. And, it's something I constantly am trying to build. So appreciate the guidance on that.
What's helped there in the last 12 months or so, it was about 12 months that we got rid of our second shift, which is, I fought that for about 5 years. My director of ops said, second shift's killing us. We had 10 people on the second shift, and it was killing us because we didn't have the support, making too many errors, handoffs were awful. So when we were slow and paying a 15% differential, we're going to have to eliminate the second shift. Now, the best part of that story is all 10 of them came to days. They took the pay cut. But now they're surrounded by people that can train them.
Sure.
They can get upskilled. They can get that 15% back and more, and some of them have. Now, so we open as early as 5 in the morning. We have people that stay as late as 6 at night. So we have a 13-hour window. So people can start as late as 5 or stay as late till 6, right? So that helped. We've augmented the night shift loss of spindle time with technology and lights out manufacturing. Yeah. And we continue to move more and more into that. So we're making up. Now, will we ever need a second shift? There's a possibility. I wouldn't bring it back to what we had, but if we had, 3 to 5 people running 10 to 15 machines, and it was just kind of an operator type, monitoring scenario.
Yeah, keeping robots loaded or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
But we'd have to have what we call a model line production system where we've proven it out, through SPC, tool counts, and all that. Yeah. So we know that the chance for error would be slim to none, and there would be no failure. We talk about we say it's okay to fail. Just a little terminology here, but we call a mistake a failure repeated. So we want to avoid the mistake, the failure repeated. So we try to error proof and poke-yoke. And if we could get certain machines, we have machines, some machines run 24 hours, a couple right now, because we were able to prove out a process and have the redundant tooling that the machines can run. So that's kind of helped again with the scheduling piece.
That's awesome.
Mike, I'm thinking Mike needs to be on Lights Out with Nick.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a whole lot of learning and wisdom right there about running unattended.
Yeah,
you guys got to come to Boston and visit. I'm waiting for one of you guys.
I would love to do that.
Pop in.
Yeah, I'd love to
you
do
bet.
that.
Speaking of
open all the time.
Speaking of podcasts, Jon, I want to give you a few minutes just to share about the Manufacturing Employer podcast. You guys are now part of the Making Chips Network. And obviously, Michael's been giving us a masterclass in being a great employer. But why don't you share a little bit more about your podcast, and we'll kind of wrap it up that way.
And Mike, I've already got an email queued up, ready to go, because I've got to get Diane or you or somebody from your organization on my show. But my show is called The Manufacturing Employer, and in short, it's a podcast built for the hiring managers, HR pros, culture builders, basically the people within a company that care about the people. That comes in a variety of kind of roles, but it's hosted by me. It's every other week at this point. I think we're coming up on episode 90, so got a good handful under our belt. But exploring a variety of different topics. Today we had one go live all about lean, so very much talking about the continuous improvement. But that's a little bit about my show. And if anybody out there listening has questions or ideas or anything like that, you can always reach out to me directly. I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn and all the normal places.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in there to our listeners, like, I listen to the show every other week, and it's great. I always pick up lots of knowledge, and I would encourage everybody to tune in.
Well, thanks, Mike. I was wondering who that one listener was out there.
I got your back, Jon.
Near Tulsa.
That Tulsa thing keeps lighting up. That spot on the map.
Paul, tell me about your trip to Italy.
I went there with the NTMA, and we got to tour SMW Autoblok, 2 different facilities. Absolutely blew me away. World-class, enormous places. I can't even count how many machines there were, but so much automation. One of the most incredible takeaways for me was the breadth of what they made. I did not know they made so many work holding products and automation products. And I loved watching a big chuck machine a little chuck. So they were machining chucks in huge lathes. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, you introduced them to me after you came back, and they've been to my shop. And the ideas they have to like breathe new life into some of my machines and the tools and the jobs that we're running was just shocking.
And then one of the coolest things is we're bringing this new automated pallet delivery system, the Hennig workflow, to market. And guess what the interface is? It's SMW 0-point locators. It's really sweet.
We're getting ready to get some of those.
So how do people find SMW Autoblok to look through that massive catalog of products?
It's SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Yeah, get rid of that C. SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
And Mike Tamasi, if someone wants to learn more about AccuRounds, where would you send them?
Go to our website, come right to me. We have videos on our website that kind of show what we do and what we're all about. We try to post as much as possible on LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn. Or email me at mtamasi@AccuRounds.com. Happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have.
Awesome. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. It exceeded all my expectations, although I'm not surprised. But great conversation, great insights. Appreciate you being here. And Mike, are you going to be at Top Shops this year? Speaking of Top Shops,
I haven't finalized my schedule for November. That's on the potential docket to go. So yes, you'll all be there, right? That could give me enough reason to go.
Yeah, we will all be there. And
okay.
And if you are, people can shake your hand and say thanks for this great episode. So
absolutely.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. So Mike, this has been a fantastic episode and we got to close it out. And I'm going to do that if you're not hiring the right people, if you're not retaining them and building a great culture, you're not keeping your machines busy, you're not making chips.
If you're not making chips,
you're not making money. Bam.